So we're here just outside of Queenstown in the South Island of New Zealand on the banks of the Kowara River and preparing ourselves for a run down Nevis Bluff, which is definitely one of the hardest and most revered pieces of whitewater in New Zealand. It's not typical to the type of whitewater you'll find in New Zealand, which is more low volume, steep alpine creeks. This is a high volume, long, technical and committing rapid that many a whitewater paddler has came and looked at over the years, and today we find ourselves with the opportunity to make a run down it. Nevis Bluff is an interesting rapid. It was formed about 30 years ago when they were blasting the bluff to make the road, and there was actually nothing there apart from normal river, and they blasted the road out and it made this rapid. And so it's not your typical rapid that you'd find in a river, because there's all these strange rocks and funny places where you typically wouldn't expect to find them in a river. And you add to that the fact that it's a really big volume rapid that is quite rare to find in New Zealand. You know, we're a country where we have, you know, lots of alpine creeks with technical low volume kayaking, and you don't get a lot of exposure to this high volume stuff in this country. So there's a few things that you have to deal with. You know, everything happens very fast, everything's really big, and you've got to manoeuvre from one side of the river to the other to hit the lines you want to do. And when you've got lots of water shunting through and big whitewater, that becomes tricky. And the biggest move we had to make today was to break from the right-hand side of the river right across to the left in order to find a window through a big hole. One of the views you don't get from the bank or on a video screen is the actual paddler's perspective when you paddle into a big rapid. And pretty much all you can see is what we call a horizon line, which is just basically where the calm water at the top of the rapid disappears off the gradient and the whitewater starts. So it's quite an eerie feeling on Nevis Bluff, you know, because all you can see is this perfectly fine, even line of the horizon, and then you can just see mist and spray and all sorts of action happening below. And you have to use markers on the bank to line that up. So today we had some of the crew standing on a rock at the right-hand side at the top, and I knew that there was going to be two little lateral waves coming from the right-hand side that we had to break over. You'd go past two enormous truck-sized holes, and then the crux was coming right there, where you had to actually turn your boat and start moving right across to the left-hand side of the river, which was the point where, you know, we realised that it was going to be the make or break of the run, because, you know, if something was to happen there or you missed your line, you'd end up on the right-hand side of the river where you didn't want to go. So once you'd sort of come through there, I came over the top of the first big hole and got a beautiful visual of where I wanted to go. I got a nice sweep stroke in and just caught the side of the second curler, and it shot me sort of where I wanted to go, and I used a few of the big features of the rapid to start pushing me left. And you know, at that point I sort of got into the slow moving water in the middle and realised that the first sort of crux of the rapid was behind me, and then I sort of got a moment to gather my thoughts, and there was still a huge amount of whitewater to come, but it was at that point that I was like, all right, we're doing this, and then plugged into the actual main hole in the drop, had a pretty good run there, got a little bit sucked under the water, came up, took the next big curling wave straight on top of my head, and ended up getting pushed right up against the bluff, and actually had a few little issues as I went down the seam line where the two currents were meeting against the bluff, and ended up getting sucked on my nose and flipping over, and but that was all good. Managed to sort of gather myself and then make my way back to the left-hand side of the river and just charge the big wave train at the run out, and yeah, it was a cool feeling. Really stoked. It's nice to sit and visualise something for 3 days and have your stomach churning, and all of a sudden all those feelings of nervousness and unease are replaced by just super stokedness. It's a really nice feeling to put all the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle together and have a clean run through, you know, and so it's a sweet feeling. I first sat in a kayak about 20 years ago. My dad was a very keen ocean yachtsman, and ever since I was sort of 2 months old, I was brought up around the water. 1999, we hosted the World Freestyle Kayaking Champs in New Zealand, and that gave me my first sort of taste of, I guess, the professional kayakers or the lifestyle kayakers, I guess you could call them. and it sort of opened my eyes to that whole travelling the world and kayaking gig. So once I graduated from university, I went and met up with a few friends of mine from overseas on the Zambezi River, and ended up spending 5 years there on and off, and from there that's really I really picked it up and ran with it. That just took my kayaking personally to a whole new level that I hadn't experienced before, and from there, yeah, I had a little bit of luck and some good influences, and yeah, there's been no looking back really. I often get asked the question about fear, and it normally comes in the form of the question, do I get scared? And my answer is always, of course I get scared. I think anyone that says they don't experience the emotion of fear standing at the top of a huge rapid is either devoid of any emotion or a liar. And what I think we've learned to do is use that fear as a positive, you know, where in a lot of people, fear can instill a feeling of panic and chaos. I think the feeling of fear that as a kayaker you feel on the river, it brings with it a sense of clarity, and I think it's at that moment that you need to utilise those feelings to bring a sense of focus and really believe in what you're doing and where you need to be and how you need to get yourself safely down the river. I think the biggest inspiration for me to kayak is the exploration of it, the adventure that is involved in going to new countries and new rivers, and in a lot of ways I find the river a sanctuary, and when you spend as much time on the water as we do as kayakers, it sometimes feels more like home than anywhere else. So it's you know, it's a formidable friend. You have to respect it and work with it as much as possible, but you know, in return you get adventures that, for me, I don't think I could find anywhere else on the planet. So it's a special part of my life. Anyway.